joining us for this panel. My name is Ammu Sushila. I am the president of RP MSRF. And I would like to introduce Niketna Vivek, who's our chair of Public Relations Committee. I'll tell a little bit about API, and then Pavan, who is the director of USMLE Sarathi, can give a brief introduction about Sarathi. So API MSRF, it's founded as from the parent API, which is the American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. It is an organization which is almost 40 years old, and we basically cater to the community of physicians of Indian origin, like whether they'll be medical students, residents, fellows, people who finish their fellowship, they can join the parent API. So you see like mentors in any part of your career. If you want to look up to, you'll always find somebody in our community. We have a very robust involvement. We have a lot of like American medical graduates who are Indian origin, as well as international medical graduates who are Indian origin, who are part of MSRF. And then we also have a very vibrant active conferences. We do conferences 2 times a year. We have the Parent API conference, which just got finished in San Antonio. And then we have our winter medical conference, which usually happens during the President's Day weekend, which is this time it is in Las Vegas in February. Here we also do a very robust research symposium where we invite all our medical students, residents, and fellows to present their research in our community, in our conferences, and we offer competitive prizes, and we have an opportunity to publish in our own journal, which is called the Journal of American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. I would like to just talk to Niketna, tell a few words about API.
Yeah, so for the Winter Medical Conference, that's in Nevada, February 17th to 19th. And then you could—
Do you want to share the slide with Niketna?
Yeah, I could share the slide. So this is just our webinar, and then this is a little bit about our conference. If any of you wanted to take a screenshot, and then I could put the link in the chat later on to submit abstract as well. And then this is what Amma was talking about earlier with the Journal of American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, and you can submit here, and here's the cash prizes. And you could also take a screenshot of this as well, and I could put it up at the end of the presentation.
Great. And Pavan, do you want to brief us about USMLE Sarathi before we start about the questionnaire?
Yes, thank you, Ammu, and thank you, Niketna. So as many of you may be aware, maybe are not aware, USMLE Sarathi started about 7 years ago. So 2015 was our first year. And ever since our inception, our vision has been very simple: to help the IMGs and the Caribbean applicants in their match journey. So whether it is, your interview preparation for the match, whether it is your ERAS CV, whether it is your list of programs to apply, whether it is your rotations, whether it is research. So we help in all phases of the match. And now we've also started helping in the strategy phase, the upfront phase, whether USMLE is right for you or what all goes in USMLE, a bit about the exams, and also pretty much all phases of the USMLE. And we are like the career office for IMGs. In the past 7-8 years, we have helped more than 5,000 IMGs and Caribbean applicants match. There are DOs and AMGs also, but that part is less than the IMGs and the DOs. And our students are matched in all specialties. So obviously the IMG friendly specialties, but in addition, general surgery, OBGYN, ENT, etc. We have had those matches. So there we are, and we look forward to helping each one of you in your USMLE journey.
Excellent. So now we'll start with the Q&A about our the topic of our webinar today. And attendees, if you have any questions, please direct it in our chat to either me or Niketna, and we will ask for you to Pavan. So let's start with the match residency. So since USMLE, so meticulously mentor the students in this process, can you tell me about the timeline about, what are the important dates in this application process?
So the application season 2023 has kicked off. June 28th was when the ERAS token were out, and you can purchase and register for the ERAS token. It's already available. Then the other important date for you is August 1st. Now, August 1st is when the supplemental ERAS application will open up. This is a new application that was started last year, primarily in internal medicine, but there are a couple of other specialties that also participate. So August 1st is when the supplemental ERAS application opens up. The deadline for supplemental ERAS application is September 16th. And in September, the most important upcoming date is 1st September 7, when you can start submitting the main ERAS application. And it is different from the supplemental ERAS application. It's the traditional ERAS application that you know. And 28 September is when the programs begin to access your ERAS application. So the 3 dates, June 28th, already passed, ERAS token you can buy, start putting your application. Supplemental ERAS, August 1st and September 16th, the deadline to submit. September 7th, when the ERAS application opens, and September 28th, when the programs can access your ERAS application.
So what should the applicants be doing between now and September?
Okay, so between now and September, obviously there are a lot of things you can still do. First, make sure that your exams and certification, if you can, is there. So CK, Step 1, OET, that has to be done clearly, right? Without that, any kind of application is incomplete. You can also try ECFMG certification if you are on your way to exams. So requirement of the ECFMG certification are Step 1, CK, OET, and your pathway approval. Then in August or July end, what you should be also looking at is your researching the programs, which programs to apply for, make a personalized list. A lot of students do not do that, but this is important. It saves you money and you can target the right kind of programs. How do you make that list? Of course, there is FRIEDA, there is Residency Explorer, program website, and our own students have the Sarthi list. So where we give you a customized list based on your profile. So the list is very, very important. And then, of course, come September, make sure your LORs are uploaded. You should be working on your personal statement, ERAS CV. And also, as you submit them, then September end would also be the time to start preparing for the interviews. Interviews can be the deal breakers. And Step 3, for those of you who can put it in your timeline, is also something to be considered as soon as possible. So between now and September, if you can do it.
Excellent. So going with the timeline, let's look at the entire year. So you said from June to September, this is what you should be focusing on. I put the link of the ERAS token where people can go and register to get their ERAS, which is already done and people who've been applying must be knowing already. So what should we be focusing on from September to December onwards when the actual interview season goes on?
Okay. So September to December are the most critical 4 months of your match journey and the season. So assuming you get all the deadlines, the supplemental ERAS, the ERAS application out of the way, and you know which programs to apply for, like I said, interview preparation is the most serious thing to be done in this phase. Then is Step 3, if you have not done it, and if you are, say, an old graduate or other red flags, Step 3 becomes important, and we'll talk about that. The other is continuous clinical experience in some shape or form. If you are in your home country, you should be working. If you are in the US, maybe it is the USCE or even tele rotations, on-site rotations that you can do. Research is very important as well. So between September to December, you may or may not be able to publish, but to show that you are interested in research, maybe it's the case report or maybe something else. So pick where you think you need to improve. So research could be one of those. Another important thing you should be doing is program outreach. The ERAS CV cannot change after September 28th, but you can always reach out to the programs, let them know why you are interested in them, keep them updated of your progress. So we have a detailed class and guidance for our students, but suffice it to say that program outreach is very important. And of course, like I said, most of your interview invites and actual interviews will happen between October to December. So don't underestimate the importance of the interview preparation during September to December.
We have a couple questions in the chat kind of related to what you said earlier with supplemental ERAS. So someone wants to know what the supplemental ERAS is, and then also if there's specialties which require the supplemental ERAS application.
So as the name signifies, supplemental ERAS application is in addition to ERAS. So this was a new thing that was introduced last week. At a high level, what this does is, and primarily for IMGs, it is internal medicine, probably I think neurology. So this year I have to see which other specialties are participating. It is definitely internal medicine. Last year it was OBGYN also and surgery as well. But what it does is it allows you to expand your experiences, research experiences, other experiences that you would otherwise put in the ERAS CV. So you have more room to describe those in the supplemental ERAS. But two main things, you can actually signal up to 5 programs and you can tell them I'm interested in you. So signaling, program signaling is one part that is different, not in ERAS. The second is you can also select regions. So you can say, I'm interested in Northeast or Midwest. So that supplemental ERAS application has divided the entire US, I think, in 7 to 9 regions. And we'll have a separate session, maybe a webinar on supplemental ERAS. But it is signaling the programs, it is expanding on your clinical research, other activities, and it's also, if you want, you can let them know the regions you are interested in. But we'll have a webinar, early next month, maybe on this.
Great. Yeah, so this is our first of the webinar series for the residency season. So going back to the timeline, so starting from December or January to March, which is like the end of the season when you actually get the match results, what are some of the things that applicants should be aware of and should be doing?
Okay, so January to March, again, it will what you do will depend on how the season has been going for you. So for example, if you have less than 5 interviews in a specialty, then you should utilize the January to March period to improve your profile, keep working, getting more USCE, because there is a realistic possibility that you may not match and you may even have to go to SOAP or the next season. So first, figure out where you are in the season and to make a game plan. Then every applicant, whether you have 0 interviews or 1 interview or 15, you should register with NRMP. NRMP is where you put your rank order list. It is a different kind of a system than ERAS. So a lot of students confuse it. You have to register to NRMP if you are going into the match. The early registration deadline is January 31st. Then the interview season comes to an end in Feb, almost end of Feb, and you should be working on your rank order list. The rank order list deadline is March 2nd. The other thing you can do between January to March is the letter of intent. So this is where you've interviewed maybe 5, 7, 10 programs. You are evaluating which programs is higher on your rank order list, which is coming lower. And then you start reaching out to the programs, telling them why you are interested in matching at that program, and why you're a good fit, and therefore the intent that I will rank you higher. So that's the letter of intent that needs to go out also during this January to March timeframe. And finally, the third week of March, I think this season will be 14th of March, the Monday, that when you know if you matched or not. And 18th of March is when you know where you matched. So, and between this week, between 14th and 18th of March is the SOAP, Supplemental Offer and Acceptance Program. So if you don't match in the main match, you can go through the SOAP for a week. So on 18th of March, everyone will know if they match, where they match. So that's how the season goes from January to March.
Great. I have also put in the link for the NRMP. I think they're opening on 15th September, but as Pavan was mentioning, you can watch through your interview season, and then 1st of January is the closing time. All right.
Question if you need to select all the program lists during the submission of the ERAS application.
I'm sorry, what is the question?
If they need to select the program list during submission of the ERAS, or if you can add programs on later.
So you can definitely add programs later. You know, you can continue to research, you can add programs later, but we recommend you apply to programs at least on the first day, September 28th.
So that's the follow-up question. What's the difference between applying at the time the ERAS open versus the last day of ERAS, or the time when the day before when the program will start seeing your application? Does that make any difference? Because some students will be getting letters from their faculty, it takes time. So yeah.
So the most common misconception is the earlier you apply, the better. That is not true. There is no difference whether you apply on September 7th when the ERAS opens up, or September 28th when programs access your applications. So all applications will be stamped September 28th. Programs will only be able to access on that day. However, we do recommend you apply a couple of days earlier than 28th. So maybe 25th, 26th. Certify the application just to avoid any technical issues. But there is no difference between September 7th or September 28th. Any date after 28th can be different. So the programs, internal medicine programs with about 20 spots, get between 3,000 to 5,000 applications in the first week itself. So any date after 28th can make a difference, but before that, it's the same.
Okay, so I'll go with the next question, Nikita, and then you can take the next one. So I have a question.
Oh, I think we lost her. So what was the question?
I could ask a question while we're waiting.
Yeah, you can ask the next one. That's fine.
There's some questions in the chat, a lot of timeline questions. Is the interviews this year are virtual or if they're hybrid?
Good question. Interviews this year, as per the recommendation for all specialties, they are recommending that the programs do it virtually, but it is up to the programs. We think that programs will do virtual interviews. However, there may be some programs that may want to meet you in the second round or may do a hybrid version. So yes, as of now, the interviews are virtual, but it depends on the programs, how they want to do it.
There's also a question about what the deadline is to purchase ERAS tokens and how SOAP works.
So ERAS token, you can buy anytime, but without buying the ERAS token, you cannot complete your ERAS application, cannot certify it. So you can buy it today, you can buy it next month. I don't know the exact deadline. It should be there on the website, but you will need to buy it to certify your ERAS application and to apply.
There's also a more longitudinal question. I know we addressed the end of the process, but someone wants a timeline from step 1 to matching.
Okay, so we do have a complete video on our YouTube website or a YouTube channel on what you should be doing in terms of the all the activities between step 1, your electives, your CK, etc. There's a complete timeline. I can share the link to the YouTube video or maybe after the webinar, and they can go and look there.
Sounds good. There's also, I think I missed this question earlier, which date they could do USCE that will count for 2023 match?
So yes, so that's a good question. A lot of our, so we do a lot of rotations, externships, electives, as you know. So all the physician partners, preceptors that we have spoken to, they have told us that as long as the student is doing rotations in September, so they will be able to upload the LOR by 25th September. So it still counts as an LOR and can be used in this season. So the answer to the question is you should do experiences USC in September and work with your attending that your LOR is uploaded on time. I think Ammu is back.
Can you hear me? I think
Yes, we can hear you, but your video is gone, I think.
I think you have to make me a host. I'm not able to put my video on.
Or something. Can you? Okay.
Okay, it's recording now.
Okay.
And so my next, sorry for that technical glitch, got logged out. So then my next question, I think it's also from the audience. What's the deadline of uploading LORs, as we may have rotations in September? I don't know whether this was answered so far.
We just answered it. Yes. Okay. So deadline, as long as you upload it by 25th, 26th of September, it should all go through. Remember though that during the last week, the system tends to slow down. You know, there's a lot of workload on the system. So doing it earlier is better, but don't worry about it. September 25th should be a good date.
Okay. So now that we talked about timeline and answered a few questions, what is the best way to improve your CV during this time when you're actually, waiting for application?
So CV improvement, $1 million question. How do we improve the CV? The answer is control the controllables. So if you have already taken your scores, you don't control them. If you take, obviously YOG, you don't control gaps. If you have, you don't control, so on and so forth. However, control what you can. So if you have not yet taken your CK, for example, higher scores are obviously better. USC, as much as you can fit in, always will help. Research, always a good idea. Now with step 1 going pass, fail, CS going away or has gone away. If you have gaps or red flags or old YOGs, step 3 is golden. Very, very important. The other important thing which a lot of IMGs miss is home country experience. In the past 2-3 years, all our students who had COVID experience, inpatient experience in the home country, that was their ticket to match. Many IMGs underestimate their own work experience. So please don't do that. If you are in your home country, make sure to work, showcase the working in resource constrained environment, heavy patient load, varied disease pathology. So these are some of the things you can do, USC, obviously high scores, step 3, research, and working in your home country to improve your CV.
Kind of going off of that, what are some clinical opportunities that they could pursue either in their home country or here?
Okay, so home country, of course, assuming most of you or all of you should be board certified in your home country, should be working. There is no other alternative. You're a physician, you should be working. In the US, hands-on clinical experiences, externships are important, and we have more than 100 on our website. So you should continue to do your USCE. If you can get inpatient, great. Otherwise, outpatient in affiliated clinics, at least that should be done. For those of you who have no visa issues, there are physician assistant licenses, at least in 3 states, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri. I think New York is limited license now, where you can actually work as a physician under supervision. One of the most valuable experiences. A lot of our students do it every year, and match becomes very easy if you are on this physician assistant license path. So that's another thing. There are other opportunities, if you're not able to find, for example, medical assistant, you can work as an MA, you can work as a scribe, although of course it's not as useful as some of the other ones. So there are a lot of things that you can do in terms of clinical opportunities.
Great. So adding to that, we would also like to say that RP also offers observership programs. So we have, a few of our parent RP doctors who are in practicing would like to take on students and would love to give you opportunity to shadow. So I've put in the link about the RP observership program in the chat list. If anybody is looking for opportunities, you can sign up also. Talking about the observership programs, what do you think about the tele-rotations that the last 2 years a lot of students did, because that was the only opportunity they had? Right now, since it's still gonna be virtual, do you think they can still do the tele-rotation? Or right now some of the programs are slowly opening up observership program. So what is your take on these two?
So tele-rotations versus on-site rotations has been a big debate now, as programs are opening up. And if you're getting an opportunity on-site to do at our residency hospital or an affiliated clinic, then take it. Hands-on, always very important. But if for some reason you cannot travel, you may not have the visa, tele-rotations are still okay. Understand that some of the tele-rotations also give you the same experience. You actually manage the patient, 10 to 15 patients a day. You get EMR access, you present the patients to the attending. And like I said, we have many of these tele-rotations available. So if you're getting these kind of tele-rotations, or you're getting a tele-rotation with, say, a PD, like we have several of these available, then probably tele-rotation can be considered. So if you cannot travel, and or if you're getting a good clinical experience even in tele-rotation. Otherwise, if you are in the US, you can travel, then on-site is preferred.
We have 2 questions on how we're supposed to work in the home country when we have to prepare for USLME and do USCE.
I'm sorry, come again?
Just how you're supposed to work in the home country when you have to prepare for USLME and do USCE.
Yeah, so now at least step 1 preparation should not be that stressful with it going pass-fail. So the idea here is you should not have gaps in your CV. If you are a recent graduate, you have a very high chance of match. If not, then you are expected to work in your home country. I think it's a question of prioritization. It gets harder, of course, but like I said, step 1 is pass-fail. Should not take more than 3 to 4 months now, but try to get home country work experience. Maybe take a few breaks, like many students do, especially from India, when they have to do their externships or electives. But yes, this is a balancing act to be able to prepare for USMLEs without compromising on the gaps. And we do, like I said, we do have videos on our YouTube channel on the entire path, when you should do what. So, if you can go to our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for USMLE Sarthi, you'll get these videos.
Great. And I have a question. It's anonymous, and I myself, I would like to know. I'm new to this. It said, how will the ECFMG accreditation be changing from 2024 onwards, given that WFME change in process for IMGs, especially for Indian students?
Right. So this is again a big topic. My college, my country, etc., is not WFME accredited. What do I do? And we've done a couple of webinars on this as well. But the short answer is you don't need to worry. As long, and this is by ECFMG, as long as you start your ECFMG process, which is, I think, Form 186, as long as you at least get started with Form 186 by 2024, you have next 5 years to do the final ECFMG certification. So if you start Form 186 on 2024, by the time you take your CK, etc., you can do up to 2029. But the governments and especially the Indian government has been working on it. We do hope and expect that they'll have a resolution by 2024. Otherwise, ECFMG has given you this latitude that as long as you start Form 186 by 2024, you don't need to worry. You're eligible.
We had some questions earlier on if you could apply for 2 specialties at the same time.
You can. You can apply for multiple specialties at the same time. It just depends on a couple of factors. First, how close these specialties are. So, for example, internal medicine and pathology unlikely to work together. IM, FM, neuro, psych can work together. That's one. The second to remember is each specialty, each program looks for specialty-specific experiences, LORs, and your interest. No specialty wants to be seen as a backup. So as long as you can balance these things, as long as you can have specialty-specific LORs, as long as your ERAS CV does not appear, all garbled towards multiple specialty, where program cannot figure out what exactly are you trying to do, where they don't question you. I think my specialty is a backup. It's a hard act to follow, but can be done.
Okay, I have put in the link of the USMLE Sardi YouTube just for completion purpose. We'll just go with the questions in the chat box because there is a lot coming. So it's Alan Thomas says, if my rotation starts on September 5, is it still possible to get the LOR and upload? I know it's partially been answered, but what is your?
So it depends on the attending, the preceptor. Like I said, our rotations, if you go through us, then the answer is yes. All our preceptors we have spoken to, they will upload your LOR by 25th or that earlier that week. It is possible. Other questions?
Yeah, if the US citizenship helps in any way for match.
Yes, it does. Although green card and citizenship, not really much different when it comes to the application and the match, but it does. If you already have work authorization, you can apply to more programs. That's the difference. Many programs do not sponsor H-1B or don't, go with the J visa. So those programs open up for you, and in some more competitive specialties like OBGYN, dermatology, etc., this will help as well.
And you talked about clinical experience, and like you said, Sardi has a lot of observerships. Next one is volunteer experiences. How do people gain volunteer experiences for the application?
So volunteering is giving back to the community, and every program, every specialty is now looking at it. Volunteering cannot get you the interview, but during the interview, this can help you match. And so volunteering becomes very important. They want to see the human side of you, other than the exams. What have you done to give back? How have you helped your local community, and so on. So volunteering opportunities are very localized. So for example, you can go to your local Red Cross chapter, maybe as part of your rotation, your clinic or the hospital is doing some camps. You can participate in those. There are obviously homeless kitchens and other avenues where you can do. In the past couple of years, COVID-related volunteering had come up quite a bit. So a lot of students use that. The idea is anything and everything that you can showcase, you're helping the broader community. And they are mostly localized. So you can use any of those.
Great. I just wanted to add one point about volunteer experiences, having gone through that. Even organized medicine like RP or being a part of AMA or this organization has a medical students, residents and fellows section, which has volunteering opportunities. So if you're interested in leadership and advocacy, that's one of the things you can join. Like RP, MSRF, every year during our national conference, we open our MSRF board to have anybody interested to join our board and take part in this initiatives to bring up events to help the community. So these are all part of volunteering appearance, which I also wanted to just let you guys know. Nikita, next question.
Yeah, is a letter of recommendation from a 10-day observership in the US considered significant?
Not really. I mean, we recommend minimum 4 weeks of experience and the LOR. But again, there may be situations where you're just struggling to get the LOR. 10 days is not really worth.
Okay. And how much duration of period is considered as a gap in CV?
Up to 6 months is okay. Anything beyond 6 months is considered a gap. So after your graduation from MBBS, up to 6 months is fine.
And then we have one on how hard it is to get into OBGYN.
So OBGYN is one of the hardest. What you do need, based on our experience, our students who have MASH, very, very strong experience in research in the US. So that is one. They do look for very high scores. So now, of course, CK and maybe even Step-3. If you have a home country residency, that helps, but that is not a deal breaker. If you have home country residency, you're still expected to, do research in the US. If you can, do a lot of shadowing, USC, that helps. But I think the main criteria is US research with high scores.
Thanks. So I think we've slowly transitioned to research. So we talked about clinical volunteer. Next part, how to gain research experiences. How do applicants find research positions? Difference between research fellow, research associate. Okay. So again, research is becoming a lot more important now, as we know. Like I mentioned, step 1 going pass fail, CS going away. So the way to differentiate for IMG especially is research. So first thing is getting a full-time position with some of the universities, and there are universities that have a lot of positions. So Hopkins, Harvard, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, University of Louisville, Kentucky. There's an entire list. They prefer full-time research involvement, and they take students who are preparing for match. So first, try to get a full-time position if possible. How you do it, you actually will have to look for the faculty, their research, write them emails, etc., and we can talk about that. But that is the first thing. The second is self-directed research, which means if you are working on your rotations, USC, or you have an attending, you can probably work on a case report. You can do maybe even a manuscript. The third is like there are independent courses. So we have a full-fledged course on research where we help our students publish. And this is led by faculty at Hackensack Palisades. So if you join this course, the faculty actually leads it, and they teach you all about research, and you end up publishing, like I said, the manuscripts or case reports or some of those. Another thing you can do in this season is a lot of upcoming conferences. So I know that ASH, for example, American Society of Hematology, that is coming up. Other conferences are coming up.
and they always invite, abstracts, posters, so you can submit the posters, abstracts, etc. for these conferences. So all this will help you gain meaningful research experience.
On a similar vein, is working in a clinical or research trial helpful, or is it better to have publications?
So, publications take time. Clinical research trial is good, but working in research actually ultimately translates into publication. So as long as you can get something out of it, that should be your goal. Clinical trials sometimes take a long time. So then the publications suffer.
So I'm also sending the link about this. So the research opportunities in Sarathi, you mentioned, I'm just putting the link so that they can access it through that. I also wanted to let them know that, JAPI is also accepting abstracts and case reports and everything. It is also a platform for you guys to publish. It is right now not public, it is on the process and will be published next year. However, we have awards and, it is still a publication which is available and online. You can see online. So that's also I wanted to introduce to make sure, that avenue is open. The next regarding that, is it good to use 2 research LOR instead of 1 with 2 US clinical experience? So does it make a difference you're using 1 or 2?
So what type of LORs you use can also depend on the program. No one is forcing you to use the same 4 set of LORs for all programs. For example, if you are targeting a university program, you can pretty much use 2 research LORs. If you're targeting a community program, maybe 1 research LOR. So I think it depends on the program and, of course, even the specialty. That is the other underlying factor. Some, like pathology, you can have up to 3 research LORs for obvious reasons. Whereas in other specialties, maybe no research LOR, if you don't have it, can still get you matched.
So what's the difference between a waived and unwaived LOR?
Okay, so this is another important question, waived and unwaived LOR. Now, as the name signifies, waived LOR is where you have waived the right to see the content of the LOR. So technically, you do not know what the attending or your LOR writer has written. And waived LOR is the only LOR you should use. Now, some attendings may give you the draft. They can show you the draft. Some can ask you to write it. But technically, if it's a waived LOR, then they have uploaded it. It is a more objective assessment. Do not use unwaived LORs. That's the as simple advice as we can get. Unwaived LOR means even if they have uploaded it, but you have seen it, this is on record that you have seen the LOR. So that dilutes the quality of the LOR.
And how important it is the MSPE? How important is the MSPE, and by what time should it be uploaded to the ERAS?
MSPE is not that critical for non-Caribbean IMGs. If you are a Caribbean IMGs, your didactics or the methodology or your syllabus mirrors most of the US programs. So it is somewhat important for the Caribbeans. If you're a non-Caribbean IMG, there are thousands of colleges out there. They do not have a standardized format. And the IMG heavy programs in the US have realized that MSPE is not a clear indication of how successful you will be in the residency program. So it is not that important. We haven't really seen programs ask for MSPE, but of course, if you can do it in the format which is publicly available, fair enough, you should do it. Otherwise, MSPE, even ECFMG tells you, if you tell ECFMG, I cannot get my MSPE, they'll put a blank sheet. It is not important. Transcripts are important. You should definitely get it from your university or med school. It is absolutely important to have the transcripts.
Given the WFME process from 2024, can you submit the form 186 now without the USLME scores and give exams after 2024?
Yes, as long as you have been admitted to a medical school, so as an undergrad, you can start this 186 process. Just follow those guidelines, but you still have, about 2 years or 1.5 years. So yes, you can start the form. That is the first step even before you take your USMLE. So in any case, you have to do that.
Okay, so I want to apply for 2024 match, but the final year exam will be happen in 2023 November. Still, can I apply for 2024 match with step 1, 2, and LORs?
You can apply. The issue is going to be, when do you get the certification, the final ECFMG certification? Because for certification, if you're a non-Caribbean or non-AMG, your final degree and everything will be needed. So if you cannot get certified by the rank order list deadline, which will be in March, the programs are not going to rank you. So I think your issue is going to be, when do you get certified?
So if a LOR was obtained before the match season, is it not waived? And then also if you're writing or drafting on behalf of the attending, do you mention that it's waived or unwaived?
So it does not mean that the prior year LORs cannot be waived. They can be waived. If you have already uploaded it, you can roll it over to this new season. So it still stays waived. Now, if you are writing your own LOR, you have to then give it to the attending or your PI has to upload. As long as they upload and they, kind of you waive the right, then that's fine. You cannot upload the LOR.
So in the interest of time, we have 10 minutes and we have more questions coming in. So some of the questions, if they're repetitive or has been already answered, I would skip them. So somebody is asking important question, how do you overcome the low scores in our application?
This is a very important question, low score, red flag, gaps, and we do have a lot of material on that. The most important thing, number one, is if you have still any exam to take, like step 3, try to do well in those exams, right? Then get as much of US clinical experience and or home country experience if you can. And finally, research. Those are the only few things that you can do to overcome the low scores. Program outreach becomes important because a lot of programs will filter you out if you have low scores because of their algorithms. So in that case, program outreach also becomes important to overcome low scores.
And is a personal statement where they can explain these red flags?
They can. However, the personal statement is your story. It is not only about one incident. So as long as the story flows, as long as the programs see your journey in the personal statement, it is fine. But it cannot be just one line, I got this low score because I was sick or something, or I was not prepared. And that is completely disconnected to the personal statement. Then I don't think it makes sense.
Okay, so I took step 1 and just took OET now. Will sit CK on October. Will it be okay if I apply without CK, or should he wait for another cycle? Or is there a downside if I try now to not match? Will it affect my application on next year? Okay, that is, if the person applied and didn't match, will it apply?
So there are many questions. So first, if you apply without CK on September 28th and you took step 1 pass fail, very unlikely you're going to get any interviews because the programs don't have any of the scores. Second, if you're taking CK in October, you can probably apply late. Applying late is still better than not applying. So maybe you have high scores in CK, maybe you're a recent graduate, maybe you have electives, so you may still get some interviews. The other question, should I wait for the next season? If you have no alternative, then yes, you can wait. But remember, there is SOAP also, so you can apply in SOAP. Any year that you don't apply and you are eligible, you are just moving away from year of graduation. And every year you are moving away from year of graduation reduces the number of interview, and you got to then show those 12 months what you've been doing and fill up the gaps.
Someone asked if publishing a book is helpful on Amazon for neurology.
Yeah, any kind of publication is helpful. Publishing a book is obviously very, very helpful. It also has to tie with other pieces of the profile. So neurology, how much of USC do you have? How much of research you have? What are the scores?
What is preference signaling pathway? I'm not aware of
I
that.
know the preference signaling. I know the pathway. I don't know what it means by preference signaling pathway. Preference signaling is, like I said, in the supplemental ERAS application, you can signal 5 to 7 programs that you really want to go there or interview there. And you can also signal the regions which you may be interested in. And pathway, of course, is the certification side, right? So pathway 1 through 6. I don't know what this preference signaling pathway is.
Is a score 210 to 220 considered a red flag?
It depends on the specialty, but in general, it is a lower score.
So does the USMLE transcript get uploaded by ECFMG automatically? I think we answered this, or do we have to request them by paying the $80?
I don't know. You may know the
So
answer.
yeah, I do think you have to request them by paying the $80. And then once it's uploaded, you can automatically assign it to all programs.
How many home country LORs will we need?
So if you are a recent graduate, if you're a gold medalist, and if you have done wonderful things as a recent graduate, probably one you can use. If you have done a home country residency recently, then that one home country residency LOR you could use. But in almost all other cases, you don't need it.
Okay, so I'm a medical student in India and will be applying for 2026 match. So if I register with the form 186 now, can I avoid the WFME
Yes.
program even if I give the exams? Yes.
Yes, if you are applying for 2026 match, again, as long as you start the registration process for USMLE by 2024, you have nothing to worry.
Student is asking if they want to go into IM, passed step 1, got a 250 on step 2, 3 months USCE and 4 publications, original articles, but no volunteer experience. What are their chances of matching?
So chances of interviews are very high, right? Match is a different ball game because the interviews come in and all that. Your interview performance matter. But in this case, 250 in CK, assuming recent graduation, you seem to have research. It's a very good shot. You will get a good number of interviews.
Okay, so in the interest of time, we're at 10:57. So this is a one hour webinar. We still have some questions which we'll type the answers in so that we're respectful of the time of everyone. And, so as closing remarks, Pavan, do you wanna, talk about we already talked about the opportunities, how the students can get more involved with USMLE Sarathy as well as API can briefly touch upon, and then we can close this.
Yeah, so again, I want to thank you and I want to thank Niketna. We obviously work with API closely. I think our goals and API's goals are very aligned. We want to help the IMGs. In fact, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities for writing blogs, if you guys are interested. And of course, we have our services. So anyone looking for rotations, research, match services, interview prep, we can help you. And I think we are putting up this recording as well, right? So you have half the recording, I have half the recording. So we'll combine that. This recording will be available. We'll do more joint webinars going forward. I think the next one we should do maybe the supplemental application or something. So I think API will be in touch with you. A great platform. We do recommend all of you join API. I think it'll give you a very good leg up as you transition into residency and beyond.
Thank you. And from API MSR point of view, we have put in our website at, anybody who's interested in it, please join by registering. It's completely free. Having been associated with Sarathy for a while, I know how wonderful that platform is. And they have, a very good set of mentors and faculties who help you through the process. So having someone used their resources, I really vouch for their services, and I think it's extremely helpful for application process IMGs or AMGs. And I would like to say for RP MSRF, we have a lot of webinars coming up. We'll be partnering with Sarathy throughout this interview season to come up with questions which might be, you'll have questions about, we're happy to answer. We talked about clinical and volunteer opportunities that we have. And also the main thing is we'll have our winter medical conference coming up. So all of you, if you're interested, please submit your abstracts. Niketna will put the link in again, and we are accepting abstracts right now, and it will be another addition to your CV as well as an opportunity to showcase your research. We also have awards for these abstracts recognitions as well. So having said that, I'd like to thank Pawan for talking with us. Those were extremely valuable. Some of the questions I didn't even know. So I'm so glad we had such an active group of participants. We will be putting up this webinar in our website as well as in Sarathy's. And we have our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook profiles. So follow us and you can get more updates regarding that. And
thank you very much. And let me stop the recording and then we'll figure out what got recorded or what missed out. So,
sure.
Okay.